21st June is celebrated as International Yoga Day throughout the world. There was a time when yoga, meditation had become quite foreign words to our own people. Solid materialism had taken the place of fine spiritualism. Change and overhauling of entire humanity was the need of the hour. This could be achieved only with the descending of a special personality with a divine will. Such personalities come stealthily, complete their job, and go stealthily. In the words of Swami Vivekananda ji, the greatest men in the world have passed away unknown. The highest men are calm, silent, and unknown. They are the men who really know the power of thought. They are sure that if they go into a cave and close the door and simply think 5 true thoughts and then pass away, these 5 thoughts of theirs will live through eternity. Indeed, such thoughts will penetrate through mountains, cross the oceans, and travel through the world. They will enter deep into the human hearts and brains and raise up men and women who will give them practical expression in the workings of human life. There was a misconception that yoga, meditation for realization of God, was not for a grihastha. One had to adopt a life of a recluse. But the nature itself is correcting this misconception and is giving a clear message. Practice yoga at home and yoga with your family. The theme of International Yoga Day this year. And in turn, making every home an ashram in the real sense. The changes being witnessed now and the changes going to be observed by the world in future are all due to the will of the special personality. School kids, younger ones and older, everyone is familiar now with the word yoga and meditation. Also, people now do not limit their thinking of yoga to be a physical exercise and meditation to be a mental exercise. They consider it to be beyond that and are showing their inquisitiveness to know what is real yoga and meditation. Some of the descriptions on yoga from our literature, which gives a new direction to the seeker, are as follows. Yoga is really the method of swiftest self-evolution to the divine nature as contrasted with the biological evolution that has been taking place through millions of years. Yoga shows an accurate way of living in divine consciousness away from egoistic consciousness. It is the process of unfolding oneself into divine. Yoga begins to settle down when the impressions caused by our thoughts and actions begin to be wiped off from our mind. The technique of linking oneself with the core of a reality that embraces both the life and death is perhaps the only way. Yoga is said to be the description of this process of linking one with that central reality. Normally, yoga is conceived as union as opposed to separation, yoga as opposed to yoga. If we go one step deep in our heart, we will at once have a glimpse of the mechanics of union and separation. There we understand that what we had thought to be union with an object producing pleasure was in fact not real union but a particular status of thought, and similarly the apparent painful conception of separation was not at all separation but an attachment of thought, another of its status tending to become dynamic. So, it is our thought and thought alone which creates the conceptions of union and separation. When we still go deeper, then the exclusive attachment of thought with the idea of beloved causing intense pleasure comes to the realization of its originality, and the idea of beloved and the sensation of pleasure are left behind. The thought is quite naked at this stage, yet its activity is still there. If one dwells here, or to be precise, if one is made to dwell here for sufficient time, he will realize the source which causes the activity of thought. The oneness of the source and its activity is realized more and more clearly. The source is seen simultaneously in both of its phases, the static and dynamic. The riddle of being and becoming is solved. Now there is neither yoga nor viyoga, neither union nor separation. From this point alone, real yoga starts. At this stage, a yogi may be considered as really having attained some high status in yoga, and he is in perfect conformity with nature. In real yoga, the flow of infinite divinity is at its full, and there is no stagnation whatsoever. It is ever fresh, ever green, and ever present. There is the death of all other deaths, and it is a state of deathlessness, utter purity, and without sinews. No bondage whatsoever exists here. All the knots are rent asunder. No touch of Maya or Ahankar remains here, for the yogi has surpassed or transcended or even transformed Maya and has realized reality of Aham or the inseparable. This is the culmination of yoga. Now about meditation. Sahajmarg prescribes meditation on the heart, supposing the presence of divine light there. An abhyasi is directed not to try to see the light in any form or shape. If he does so, the light, if perchance it appears to his view, will not be the real one, but a projection of his mind. An abhyasi is, however, advised to take it in the form of mere supposition. Meditation should not be done on any solid or concrete like idols, photographs, signs, symbols, etc. During meditation, one should neither try for concentration nor suppression of thoughts. Try to be unmindful about the unwanted thoughts which arise during meditation, or treat them as uninvited guests. When meditation is backed by the yogic power of pranahuti, it becomes a real meditation. Try to sit for an hour, preferably before sunrise, in one and same posture, having a separate place and seat for worship. Purity of body and mind should be specially adhered to. About asana or posture. Perform Sandhya in an upright sitting pose. This has in principle been thought to be the most advantageous since ancient times, because the streams of divine grace which benefit seeker descend directly, and there is full power of grace in them. If an abhyasi sits obliquely or in unsteady pose, there will necessarily be confusion between those streams and real grace, and thus that an abhyasi will be deprived of the real absorption and bliss which he would have got by sitting upright in one pose. Lastly, having fixed the goal of life as highest or ultimate reality, one should always be restless to achieve the goal. Samartha Sadguru Sri Babuji Maharaj, in his message given in the year 1960, has clearly stated, "Spiritual renaissance has already commenced, and India shall again lead the world, no matter how long time it may take. The world will soon realize that no nation on the surface of the earth can survive without spirituality as its base. The age of diplomacy and stratagem is now passing swiftly, and by the end of the present century, remarkable changes are bound to come into being. Everyone must be prepared to gladly welcome what is destined to befall, and should come to the path of spirituality, whereby alone one's welfare can be assured."